Okay. Hi there, my name's Ben Rouse. I'm a head of maths at a secondary school in Surrey, so I'm sort of out of borough. I don't know if that's allowed.
It's allowed.
So far. And some of you may be aware of an idea that's gathering a bit of momentum, which is the flipped classroom. And the idea basically being that traditionally we've got the students doing the easy bit in class with us and the more difficult bit at home by themselves. And it's just basically the idea of flipping that around so that the easy basic ideas that they can take on, they do at home, and then they come into the classroom and they do the higher order thinking with the expert in the room to support them. And I'm just going to sort of quickly give you an idea of how I've interpreted that for my classes and some of the ideas I've tried to put in place. There's lots and lots out there about the flipped classroom under the hashtag of flipped class. If you want to have a quick peek now, there's loads of ideas, but I think it's got a lot of merit. So the idea is at home they'll do the basics. You'll set them some work at home. Myself and a colleague of mine, Dan Farr, who's sitting in the audience there, we've taken to making videos. So making instructional videos or solutions to past papers, posting those on a wiki space or on YouTube and getting the students to go and watch the videos for homework. So learn the basics there, and then when they come into class it's just a case of essentially picking one of three areas. Are you really confident? Do you want to try out some really tricky stuff? Are you relatively confident and you'd like the opportunity to just practice that skill? Or do you want to come and sit with me and I'll give you a bit of a top-up on some of the things that you didn't understand from your homework? So that's the basics of it. Of when they come in, they've got an option as to, based on the information they did for homework, where they want to push themselves to. And what that allows is it allows much more differentiation, much more focused, higher order work in the class, and rather than essentially me dictating to them what they need to do and then sending them away to do it. I find it particularly valuable with year 12, some of our A-level students, where rather than having me spend a lesson demonstrating some maths that they then go away and do, they can do the demonstration beforehand and then it's more doing in the lesson. So that's been quite productive with them to really push them on. I've also used it quite a lot with one of my year 10 classes as well, and that's been really useful in terms, initially my year 10s were actually quite reticent because when I explained it to them, they were like, you're a teacher, it's your job to teach. And they thought that I was basically saying, you can watch the videos and then I'll have a cup of coffee while you're working in class. As they realised that what it actually allowed was more time one-on-one with me in the classroom, they've come around to it a lot more. So that's been an interesting one to see. Their first reaction was like, whoa, I know what you get paid for, and then kind of realising that actually it was worthwhile. These are some of the comments. I have a lesson evaluation form on a wiki space, and the students, as and when they want to, and they can post a few comments about the lessons that were happening. So generally speaking, it's been quite positive, talking about pushing themselves on further, talking about independence, which I know is, I don't know whether it's true for everyone, but it's definitely true at our school. Pushing the independence is a real issue that we really want to try and address with the students, is making them more independent. The knowledge is there and it's a lot easier to get to, and it's about being able to apply it to different situations, which I think is really key. So having more time in class to do that is a benefit. And that's sort of what they felt about it so far. They like the fact that they can actually rewind the video or go back to the beginning and watch it again. And if they watch it 5 times, they watch it 5 times. And they did it at home and no one's judging them for it, rather than the do know the answer, you don't know the answer, right, you're not as good as everyone else. That kind of concept seems to go away. The technicalities of how I've approached it. To make the videos, whether it be a topic or whether it be an exam question or whatever it be, I put it into Smart Notebook, and I've purchased a little tablet and a pen which I use to write. And then it used to be Jing Pro, but that's now changing to Snagit, or if any of you are familiar with TeachMeet, they have something called Camtasia Studio. All of those 3 things I've just mentioned are just different ways of capturing what's on your screen, and it captures what I'm writing on the screen and what I'm saying. And I try to tone down any hint of a Brummie accent that comes out, and you'll see I hide it quite well, but every so often, if you listen to the right word, it is there. So what it allows me to do is produce videos, instructional videos or exam solutions, and that tends to be their homework more often than other tasks. Just very quickly, you'll be able to hear a muttering at the front, but this was from my year 10s. It was GCSE statistics, and this was their introduction to Spearman's rank, which meant that in class we could really get into the nitty-gritty of doing it and finding out what it means, rather than just sending them away with a vague idea of how to crunch the numbers without appreciation of what it actually does or how they can apply it. So that's how I've made the videos, and that's allowing them to do the basics at home. There's also, with this particular video, this one's more of an instructional one rather than based on a question. It's just how to do constructions, a lesson that I've always struggled with, but this actually was a lot more successful because they could watch it several times, and then in class we had that video ready to go if they needed to have a look at it. It allowed them to get a lot further with that particular topic, so that was a real benefit to me. We embed the videos in a wiki space, or they're just available on my YouTube channel, so the students all know where to find it. Mr. File, actually, Mr. File, not at school, Dan, I believe has recently hit 10,000 views on YouTube, so I think alone, wowzer. And if you are interested in having a look at how you could interpret that idea, then their vodcasting and the flipped learning are general websites about the concept, the idea, and it's got loads of resources to how lots of different people are doing it all over the place. A little bit of a plug for myself. That's the website that I plug to my students, so that's where they go to find the videos. So not so much to plug myself, but just to give you the opportunity, if you want to have a look at how I've set it up, so you can make a better version and then I can copy that. And that's my blog, where I've talked a little bit about how the journey's gone so far with the flipped classroom. And that will take you to this presentation if you want to sort of go through, because these links you can click on and go to those sites. That's me done.
Thank you.
Sorry, how long did it take for it to kind of embed itself? You know, you first say go watch something at home, and then 9 out of 10 of them come in going, oh, sorry, I forgot.
The difficulty was that it's not an easy homework to check. I could get them to each post their initials in the comment box on YouTube if I wanted to, but I haven't necessarily gone down that route of checking up on them. What's happened is that they've come to class and they haven't been able to get anywhere near as far as the rest of the class if they haven't done the homework. And that, I mean, I have done it with a class that I knew would engage with it in the right way so far. So I have picked my battles wisely. But because they weren't getting as far, and other students were like, oh, watch on the video, no, this is fine. And they were getting onto the higher level stuff, that actually prompted a lot of them to go, oh, I better watch these videos.
I used it as a, to make something?
Yeah.
I used it as a revision, how I started using it, I used it as a revision guide. So we were doing past papers, and they would do that past paper, get a grade, and then their homework would be to improve that, so they could go back and look at each question or the ones they got wrong. So that was kind of motivational, because I can do this question, I want to know how to do it, so it's coming up on my exam. So
that's been one of the best uses, actually, is that we've probably all taught a lesson when you go through a test, and it can be like pulling teeth, because inevitably they haven't all got the same problems and the same issues that need addressing. So you do the test, you give it them back, and then their homework is to go and watch all the solutions, which means that they only go to and watch the ones that they care about, but they spend time looking at that. And it's removed the whole lesson I used to do on going through the test, and it's actually a lot more effective. So that's been awesome.
One of the criticisms I've heard of the flipped classroom is about sort of quality of access. The issues with children not being able to access the stuff outside.
Again, if our school is in a position where that hasn't presented a problem for us, but that is, I think with all of these things, that is a big thing to be wary of, is assuming everyone has access to everything.
Out of interest, how do you know then?
I rather surreptitiously went around and checked with my class about, certain students where I knew there might be a doubt about it, very quietly sort of check them. You all right with that? Do you need to go and use the computers at school? And everyone in that class was fine. But it is, that's where working with the school, I think, making sure that YouTube is available would be something I would do if there were any issues there, so to make sure that they can do it at school. But it is something to be very wary of.